I was not trained to do all of that. I was trained to break people down into small parts, understand what's broken, and then fix those broken things. And that's not who we are. That's not what real healing is.
Welcome to Back to the Future podcast. My name is Victor Sadia, and I talk with brilliant minds and hearts of people who want to uproot and transform the current health and wellness paradigm. Dr. Wayne Dysinger is a medical doctor with a master's degree in public health. He was previously chair of the Preventive Medicine Department at Loma Linda University Medical Center and served as founder and chairman of the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. In this episode, Wayne recounts his childhood growing up in a blue zone, surrounded by the Adventists' philosophy and way of living. Yes, the food and stress management were important, but the close community and the security that it fosters is probably one of the most important characteristics of blue zones. Reflecting on his medical career, he critiques the conventional approach of being too reductionistic and vows to keep trying models that can rebalance our knowledge and our practice in medicine. If the lifestyle medicine approach is going to fulfill its mission of transforming healthcare, we will need more than good lifestyle prescriptions, but to invent the economic models that will sustain it for the long run. Wayne urges us to stand back and look at the forest, but also to dig in and understand the leaf a little more specifically as well. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today we have Dr. Wayne Dysinger. Wayne, thank you so much for being here.
It's great to be here, Victor. Thank you so much for inviting me.
So it's first of vacation. This is Saturday morning. You are in the front porch overlooking the sea. And it reminded me one of the things that struck out of your bio that I read somewhere online, that you said you constantly work on your personal life values of imperfect balance, deep honesty, surrendered courage, and quiet joy. These are strong words, and juxtaposed, yeah, they're even stronger. Tell me about this philosophy.
Yeah, thank you. I guess I could talk a long time about where I got to, how I got to this place that I'm in, but suffice it to say, I had a good childhood, a good upbringing, but like any person, I had challenges there. I had traumas and other things, and so what I found, and then as an adult, I've had additional challenges and other barriers, problems, pain that gets in the way of this world. And so when that happens, you have to find a path through. And to find a path through, my reality is I had to sort of let my roots grow deep. I had to really find what my spiritual foundation was, find what my connection to myself was, what my connection to others was, what my connection to whatever the bigger universe is, whatever we call that. And in doing so, I had to find times of reflection. I had to find times of quietness. And I tend to be a driven person. I tend to be someone that pushes himself hard for many good reasons, maybe for some bad reasons as well. But this sort of pulling back and focusing in on the quiet times was something that I needed, and it was something I had to work on. So in those reflective times, and what I did is I sort of created a system for myself. I pulled a little bit from here, a little bit from there, and it became my sort of my tune-up system, for all parts of my journey, really, for my spiritual journey, for my emotional journey, for my mental journey, for my physical journey, for my social journey. All of those things matter, and I've for me in my life, I was someone who wanted to be conscious about them and created a system to be conscious about them. And so out of that evolved those words and sort of these values and this approach to life. And I think you read those words in maybe some biographical sketch or something like that. And so when you're doing a biographical sketch, it's you can make it look pretty. It's never that pretty. It's always tug of wars between this and that and the other. But it's nice to have sort of a place, a foundation you can come back to and reset and rebalance. Balance is really important to me, and it doesn't happen unless I work at it. So.
Thank you, Wayne. I think one of the beautiful parts about these words that I found on your bio is that it doesn't say that you embody those qualities, but you are constantly working on those possibilities and values. And I think that's what we're doing now. How old are you now?
I'm actually 62, but I turned 63 in 5 days. So
cool. So I know you keep pushing hard. You're running marathons. You are doing amazing work with lifestyle medicine, your clinic, many things. We'll go into them. But what are the wrong reasons that you are pushing yourself probably too much at these times, at this age in your life?
So the question was the wrong reasons?
Yes.
Yeah. So, well, I think sometimes it's easy to get our value from what we do, and that would be a wrong reason from my perspective. It's easy, at least for me, as my walk through life. It's easy for me to not feel good about myself unless I accomplish point A or point B or whatever. And so that would be, a variation of the first wrong reason, but yeah, another wrong reason. So for me, it's not about ego. Some people struggle with ego. For whatever reasons, I don't think there's a lot of that, but it's just, am I okay with myself in this world, really? And I need to be okay with myself no matter what's accomplished. And frequently I am, but sometimes not.
You were born and raised in Loma Linda.
I was.
Yeah. So Loma Linda, has gotten quite famous because of this Blue Zone sticker that it has. And I'm very curious about what was it for you to grow up in Loma Linda and then go into the university, study there, teach there, and what it is and how it is to be born and raised in a Blue Zone.
Yeah. So the first thing to point out, and maybe this, it's not a secret, but when Dan Buettner created this idea of Loma Linda as a blue zone, it was really a symbol. And it was a symbol for the Seventh-day Adventist religion and their approach to life. Because this idea, or it's not an idea, there's pretty good data that Adventists live 10 years longer than their counterparts. But that was a study done through Loma Linda University for Adventists in the state of California compared to non-Adventists in the state of California. So growing up in Loma Linda as itself has a strong Seventh-day Adventist focus, and that's why Dan Buettner, identified it. Plus, that's where the research was centered. But it was really not about Loma Linda. It was really about this Seventh-day Adventism. But I did actually grow up as a Seventh-day Adventist too. So I grew up in that environment that Dan Buettner highlighted. And again, I said I had a good childhood, and I did. And I happen to still be a Seventh-day Adventist. We all go through our journeys in life, and as I have looked at a variety of things from a spiritual perspective and a personal perspective and social and other things, I made the choice to stay within that sort of worldview as such. But it's like any approach to faith or religion, there's good and there's bad, and I experienced both. I'm grateful for the good, the community that's there, this emphasis on health that's there, this emphasis on a rest day, some quiet time, and emphasis on connection with something bigger than ourselves, emphasis on service. There's a lot of beautiful things that I take from growing up with that religion, and that I think helped me to be healthier, that inspire me to go the right direction as far as life balance. But any religious construct has a downside to it too. There's certain, maybe you could say, legalism, certain inabilities to accept certain people for how they inherently are. Uh, Maybe some secrets that aren't healthy. So there's good and bad, but I still live in Loma Linda. I was born there. I was raised there. I left. I did a lot of other things, but then I came back, and I still live there. In fact, funny thing is, I live in a house that is about 2 houses down from the house that I grew up in. And I used to come to the house that I live in now and play with some childhood friends there. Um, so there must be more good about it than bad, because that's what I've done in my life, and I'm very happy there. I would love to stay in that place until I die. So.
Lovely. Tell me about the community part. You said that nowadays and for your life, you haven't really struggled with the ego part. Like, I wonder if one of the big qualities of blue zones is they talk about this powerful sense of belonging to a community. Not in the sense that you are part of the community, but you are the community. You are like multiple selves. You are not only one individual. How was it for you when you were a child? And do you think that, if so, if it remained for the decades that you've stayed in that area, now with big communications technology and also big aspirations for many of us to leave where we were born and go explore the world and conquer the world even?
Yeah, so thank you for asking that question. When you think of a blue zone, a lot of people will focus on nutrition, or they'll focus on physical activity, or stress management. And in the California blue zone, it's this idea of taking of really honoring this idea of Sabbath. But the relationship piece is incredibly important, and the older I've gotten, the more I realize how significant that is for our health. Not just our emotional health, or our mental health or social health, but actually our physical health is dramatically affected by relationship. And if you look at, when they talk about blue zones, they talk about the Power Nine. The Power Nine are sort of the 9 things that Dan Buettner identified as what he thought were really the most important things. And you can make a case that 4 or even 5 of those are very relationship centric, which is fascinating. So for me, growing up, we had a relatively small network. I hung out with the same people, week in and week out, the same families, and it was, we would go to church together, but we would also play together. We would this Sabbath idea. We would spend all Sabbath together, and it would be maybe something Friday night. It would be the classic church Saturday morning. It would be something Saturday afternoon, almost for sure, some walk, or, there would be food, gather around for a potluck or some kind of food together. And so I was always surrounded by people that I knew, and people that I felt cared about me and loved me. And that was the beautiful part of it. It was really, 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 really good, and as far as how that's continued to evolve, that is still there to a large extent in a conservative Adventist community, so churches around the world really have components of that to them, and it remains a beautiful thing. I remain an admirer of that. I personally, my personal journey hasn't kept me engaged in that component of the Seventh Adventist Church. I get my community um, partly through the Seventh Adventist Church, but through a variety of other places as well. But I think the take home message is really more community matters, and seeking community is important. And if you don't have it there sort of naturally in your life, it's worth investing in finding ways to achieve it. And church is frequently a great place to get it, but there are 1,000 other places that you can get it, and get it in really valuable ways as well.
Yeah. How about your children that they grew up in the, I don't know, 90s, 2000s? Um, do you think the same sense of belonging applied to them also in the same way, or it changed like 30 years later?
So, I can really only speak for myself. It's not fair for me to speak for anyone else. But I can say that anybody who grows up feeling part of a community is going to be blessed by that. Anybody who grows up feeling close to a network of friends, a network of family, is going to be blessed by that. And I think it's that idea of having people around you that care about you, so that you know that you're valued by a community, by a group of people. I think that's what we're after in this journey. And whether I'll get myself in trouble if I start going too far down certain paths around analyzing that. So maybe just focus on that positive side of it. That let's do what we can to make sure that every child, every young adult has a community where they feel valued and loved and cared for, and that they feel safe in.
Yeah.
That's probably one of the best, or one of the largest callings for us as human beings.
Yes. Yes, I agree. The feeling of safety when we are young is so determinant to the way we will do everything. We will even have language in the for our future selves. I was born in a very small, close community, the Jewish community in Mexico City. And when I got to my teenagers years, and then when I got married, I criticized a lot about the community, because, as you say, there's always good things and bad things. But I realized that the security I had in me to criticize even my own community came from that community that made me feel safe enough so that I can express my opinions and be confident and be even rebellious in a sense. And it came from that community that gave me that sense of safety and worth.
Yeah.
I was chatting with a friend a few days ago, and we were imagining a scenario where, let's say, a human being goes into a rocket to explore the outer space, and when he's, I don't know, beyond Jupiter, the human race gets annihilated. Something happened on Earth, and this guy is alone in the universe. So the question was, if he gets noticed that there's no one back home, there's life, but there's no humans. Uh, First, obviously that information would be a shock, and probably his brain wouldn't be able to process it. But second, I would say probably the person would die in that instant. I can't imagine an individual living without other humans. What do you make out of this?
Yeah, it's a fascinating thought exercise. And yeah, I mean, I feel like we, and then I'm an introvert. I tend to be happier, to some extent, just sitting by the beach, or hiking through the mountains, and being by myself in nature is very attractive to me. Um, if he could find, a quiet place back on Earth, with certain memories, then there could be some joy there. But yeah, that personal connection is a huge part of what gives us life, and what um, gives us joy, gives us peace. So I could easily imagine that person saying, "Okay, just keep heading out into the universe. It doesn't really matter at this point." So,
Yeah, yeah. I would love to get also a few of your insights, and I think it's very much related to what we've talked of so far about this allopathic approach to human health, or to holistic health in general. And the thing that we're trying to achieve through all that you're doing in your clinic with the lifestyle medicine movement, and with basically trying to not really fixing what is broken, but rebalancing the system, or even starting all over again, in a sense, with transforming the clinical model from all the incentives that it has and all the language that it has to a fresher possibility, let's say it that way. I admire your work because it's not only theoretical, but what you've done in your clinic, it's really changing a paradigm, because you have the membership model, the value-based model, you have even group medicine, and you value a lot that heart-to-heart connection. So what have been the I won't ask about the struggles, but at this moment in time, 2024, tell us about how you've gotten where you are, and what do you see for the next 20 years?
yeah, I mean, I could again talk for a very long time on that, but it's actually not that dramatic in some ways. I mean, I went into medicine with an idea of trying to fix root causes. I've always had that interest. At first, I thought I was going to be an epidemiologist. I felt that's how I could understand, and from that place I could fix root causes. But I learned that I really enjoyed interacting with patients, and I felt like the most balanced place to do that was as a primary care doctor. So I trained in primary care, and then I trained in preventive medicine, which has a public health. I got my master's in public health, and then I felt like the way to best do that, or at least what my talents at the moment were leading me to do, was through education. So I got involved in residency training and medical school training. And in that journey, I really got pulled into this lifestyle medicine movement in the early days. So um, when John Kelly started the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, I don't know if that's when the lifestyle medicine movement started. There were certainly other things going on before that, but it was a transformative moment, and I was in the room, as he was sort of saying we need to do this, and so then in the lifestyle medicine journey, what I realized back 10, 12 years ago is that I could train residents to be good at lifestyle medicine. I could give that knowledge to medical students, but if they didn't have any economic model in which they could practice it, it didn't really do much good. It's like knowing how to ride a bike but not having a bicycle to ride. It's like what good was it to learn how to ride the bike if you don't have a bicycle to ride? So it struck me that we needed more clinical models. And I was trying to do that within a Loma Linda system because I was, chair of the preventive medicine department at Loma Linda, and I theoretically had the opportunity to do that. But what I found in actuality, I couldn't innovate within that setting in the ways that really needed to be innovated. I really need to be or wanted to be innovating. So then I was given an opportunity to start a practice, and I was, when I say given an opportunity, a business guy basically said, I'll loan you money. So you can do this, and he sort of said, I'll be a bottomless pit, but it was a loan. So you got to be careful with those kind of things. And I probably wasn't careful enough, but it took a lot of hard work and a lot of effort, but then, eventually we're sort of in a place where it's working now, and where we're trying to now replicate the model so that it's not just, I have 2 clinics in Southern California. It's not just those 2 clinics, but it's any number of clinics in any number of places, even globally. So that's sort of the sketch of the journey. But I think so when I left Loma Linda, which was at this point 9 years ago, I became primarily a clinician again. And I've actually thoroughly enjoyed coming back to the clinical part. And in fact, at this stage in my life, if I wanted to, I could make a living just doing administrative stuff, but I don't want to. I want to keep seeing patients. And in fact, I sort of put a hard line where I'm going to keep seeing patients half time. I don't want to do less than that. And in that patient care, what I've realized is that I can be good at doing nutrition prescriptions. I can be good at helping people through meditation. I can be good at facilitating groups. There's a lot of things I can be good at, but if I don't deeply know that person, and if I don't almost approach that interaction with that person from a purpose and meaning and sort of spiritual foundation, my chances of really helping that person start dropping, and it varies, right? That's one of the beautiful things. Everybody's an individual. Everybody has their strengths and weaknesses. And some people I can literally just say, eat less dairy. And it ends up being fairly transformational. And so 3 little words help them significantly on their path to life. But most of us are way more complicated than that, and we say we want to do something and then we don't. And so to help my patients through that, I have to take that relationship piece seriously. I have to take that community piece seriously. I have to take, again, purpose and meaning seriously. I have to take childhood traumas and the idea of trauma-informed care seriously. I have to take all of that. But then, sort of going back to, because you started off the question with allopathic medicine, going back to that, I was not trained to do all of that. I was trained to break people down into small parts, understand what's broken, and then fix those broken things. And that's not who we are. That's not what real healing is. So I probably will pause there, but I have a whole other spiel that I want to go on around that gets a little more scientific and a little more business side. But I already talked a long time there. So
Thank you, Dane. Thank you, Wayne. And yeah, we can certainly go there. I think your insights are rooted in a I don't know how many years, but you really have experience doing this. It's not only that you read a book about what you felt it, on a daily basis. Before we go into that, I think there's seemingly a paradox because we want to make big changes in the healthcare system, the health approach, the health science, even in the word health, And the paradox here is that we think about scaling, but at the same time, we know that healing comes from this heart-to-heart connection, and it's more personalized, and it's more time-intensive, and it's much more, a one-on-one thing. instead of just, big scales approaches. And there's seemingly a paradox there. Probably even our language, the business language that we tend to use in healthcare makes that paradox possible, in a sense that we probably need another way of naming things so that there's no contradiction between scale and a heart-to-heart, one-to-one connection. Because at the end of the day, we are more fractals, we're more mirrors, we're more multi-dimensions of the same thing rather than the big and the small, the scalable and the non-scalable. It's difficult to put words, obviously, to this, but how does this paradox feel in your body, and how we might go about it? And also, I must say, you're a medical doctor, but also you are a public health expert, which there are also two realms of the big, the small and the big, and many contradictions, or even not contradiction, but just different worldviews, as if the human health at the public level is different from the human health at the individual level.
Yeah, so it is a paradox, and you're right that I sort of consciously have chosen to try to have a foot in both worlds. The public health or population medicine world. I've appreciated the value, the skills and the expertise and the need for that viewpoint, and I tried to keep a foot in that world, and then the individual healing, the one-on-one interactions that I have with my patients. I definitely have tried to keep a foot in that world as well. And probably to some extent, that's what all of us need to do. We need to stand back and look at the forest and look at the view, but we also need to dig in and pull apart the leaf and understand the leaf a little more specifically as well. And I do feel that if we only wear an allopathic mindset, allopathic is reductionistic, it's breaking things down. I do feel like we'll never overcome the chronic disease epidemic, that we have to have a more holistic mindset to really get on top of that. But I also feel like this journey that we're on is not trying to get rid of the allopathic mindset, because it's brought us amazing medical advances, amazing scientific advances, amazing opportunities for health that we wouldn't have. People, so many millions or billions of people wouldn't even be alive now if it weren't for some of these amazing steps forward. And those steps forward will continue using that allopathic mindset. But I feel like we need a different foundation. The American College of Lifestyle Medicine says, lifestyle medicine, the foundation of true health care. And I believe that's true. And we haven't created that foundation with the allopathic mindset, but we can't throw out the allopathic mindset either. So it's challenging, but it's almost like the primary care physician, or doesn't have to be a physician. It can be whatever the healthcare training is, but the person that has that individual, entry into the healthcare system for a patient who's non-medical, that person can't be looking at it in this reductionistic, break the person apart mindset. It just doesn't work.
Yeah. And I think what's beautiful about lifestyle medicine is that if you make the questions from the patient individual level, or from the social, even planetary level, like the foundations for health in lifestyle medicine are there at both dimensions, and there's no, it's not surprising, because at the end of the day, our lifestyle is what we do, is who we are. It's 24/7, and I think that's something that the narrative of lifestyle medicine can also be even more like, I get it that it's housed in the house of medicine, but it goes much, much beyond that realm. It goes in its culture, its society, its economics, politics, geopolitics even. And I think, how do you think about this? Like, the insight can come from the house of medicine, the science can come from the house of medicine, but it shouldn't feel as a prescription at the individual or at the social level. but rather just reimagining a new, or not a new, because like, you were born and raised in Loma Linda, but for many cities in the world, it's inconceivable that those lifestyles could be much more embedded in the culture rather than just thrown by politics or education, or as if as if it's a fix thing to fix. So in that sense, let's put it this way: if you are brave enough to take this paradox of thinking of the individual and the societal planetary level, and upgrade your cognitive system to be reductionistic, but also do this synthesis, do this large scale trying to understand everything. In your model, in your clinic, with your team especially, how has this cognitive approach really changed not only what you do and how you do it, but also like it doesn't feel that it's something extra, but rather a new worldview, a new understanding of who we must be? I don't know if the question makes sense.
Yeah, well, you said as we started this that something along the lines of we're not trying to fix things, we're trying to just start new, create something new. And I agree with that. If you go back to historical healing, the person, in the villages a few hundred years ago, the healer was a person that was frequently a spiritual leader, was the shaman, or the priest was frequently very connected to the healing process. And we've sort of split off the healthcare industry and created all these quotes healthcare professionals, and tried to make it all very scientific, which again, that has a lot of benefits. So I'm reading a book right now. It's called The Innovator's Prescription. It's actually not a new book. It's actually about 15 years old. But it's my first time to come across it, and it's written by a business guy by the name of Clayton Christensen, and then two physicians, Jerome Grossman and Jason Huang. And the business guy, he sort of specializes in change, business change, how to help people rethink their business. And he's trying to apply his skill set to the healthcare industry. And I don't agree with everything that's said in this book, but a core thing that they're saying is when we think of healthcare, we should think of it not as this one monolithic thing. We should think of it as, so I broke my say I broke my wrist, right? So there's a specific thing I'm after when I break my wrist, and that is, can I get my wrist to heal? Versus I have diabetes. What's the specific thing I'm after when I have diabetes? Well, you can say, the allopathic reductionistic approach would be to say, the specific thing I'm after is to lower my hemoglobin A1C. That's not actually what you're after with diabetes. You're after some kind of inner, deeper healing. But I go to the same healthcare system, whether I've broken my wrist or whether I'm trying to fix my diabetes. And they're sort of highlighting that doesn't work. We have different jobs that we're after as a human when our health is out of balance. And we should have different places we go to. If you're trying to buy something, you could go to like a Walmart or some store that has everything. But a lot of the times you don't want that. You want to go to that boutique store that specializes in scarves. And you get the best scarf there from that boutique store. And they're basically saying we need to think of healthcare that way a little bit more. And I like that. And it allows lifestyle medicine to come in and say, we specialize in these chronic sort of diffuse things where really the challenge is our bodies are out of balance. And our job as a lifestyle medicine practitioner is to bring the bodies back into balance and allow that natural healing to occur. So you're asking me these great questions that I get all worked up about, but this is why we're here, right? I mean, this is why the lifestyle medicine movement gets energized and moves forward.
Beautiful. And I think that it's a very simple insight what you just gave us, which is, you know, if you broke your wrist, you go to a place. If you have diabetes, you should probably go to another place. And it's very subtle, but it's so powerful. And I think that's a big opportunity there, because if we are thinking about starting all over again, in a sense, that makes it possible. We're not trying to change what is currently working, but we want to start all over from the things that are not working. And now the incentives to really take risks in that arena are really, we need to take those risks because the system is broken. It won't be sustainable if we continue these directions in many ways. And I think that's yeah, a lot to think about out of that insight. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to spend time, I do recommend the book, The Innovator's Prescription. It's again, I don't agree with everything in the book, but this resetting a little bit helps us to revision and not just be trying to fix this thing that's so broken, for chronic disease.
Yeah.
The current model just doesn't work for chronic disease.
Yeah. I'm currently bold enough, probably a bit stupid enough, but also this really talks to a lot of my intuition. I'm giving a master class in a couple of weeks. It's called "I am a health professional and I don't know how to do my life," And I'm not a health professional, but what I'm seeing is a lot of, in one part, there's a lot of suffering in health professionals because, doing medicine is hard and studying medicine is very hard, and it's traumatic even from one side. And from the other perspective is that health is really being redefined in so many different ways that your training doesn't give you nor the knowledge nor the skills to understand how many paths they're not only possible but needed to redefine what health is. Like, probably you studied medicine and you say, oh, coaching skills would be great, but no, coaches are undervalued. I cannot be called a coach. Or I love cooking, but I'm also a doctor. How can I go to a kitchen if I know how to do a surgery, for example? But I think that the ecosystem can also show that they will be in the future, and we need those many definition of what do we call a health professional and how this profession should expand in many ways and legitimize it, not doing like, oh, you're holistic and a hippie and someone who's against the system, but rather a cool thing to do is to embody probably different identities. I see that you do it, you have done it for a lot of your life. How can we keep building this momentum for young health professionals to believe that inventing their own way of being a health professional, it's not only legitimate and fun, but also needed?
Yeah, and great question. You're a very insightful person. And there's 1,000 ways, a lot of different approaches or angles or perspectives that you can bring as you're trying to fix this. So all I'll do is just share my current angle, which is that I felt to change things, you need to have the economic model there, and again, that comes from years of teaching and having residents go out and say, you taught me how to do this, but I can't make a living doing it. So and that's not the only answer. We do need people who are teaching things. We do need people who are doing research on things. We need all of that, but I've found myself in this place where I'm trying to show that this true healing that we're talking about here can happen within an economic model that exists in this world, and that can keep the healthcare, and I sort of like your idea of maybe we shouldn't call them healthcare professionals. Maybe we should call them something else. but anyways, they need some kind of compensation for what they do, and for the insights and the perspectives that they bring to the situation. And maybe, just totally thinking out of the box, maybe we should go back to the shaman piece. How did the shamans get paid? I think it was with a chicken, or something like that. Maybe we need to get even more innovative in the economic model. But suffice it to say, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying to do, is make sure that, to innovate clinically, but also make sure it has the economic underpinnings underneath it.
I think that's one of the best contributions that you're doing, and it's not an easy thing to do. You have to be brave. You have to even risk your own income, risk your own, and yeah, at the end of the day, health professionals that want to take this leap will have to confront that the economic system is not attuned to those things, and it will probably be felt in their own bodies, in their own families, in their own sense of worth, in their own bank accounts, up until the moment that we test those new economic models, we prove that they work, and then we'll see that it was the best course to take. But it will definitely take a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of insights, and a lot of risk. And I applaud you for because you're doing it in a sense. When you get this model right, which you will, you will be paving the way to make it easier for so many of us that will follow you. And that's why I really appreciate that you took on that challenge in your own wallet.
Yeah, I wouldn't be doing it if I was trying to get rich, I can tell you that. But
Yeah. Thank you, my friend. Yeah. So to wrap up our conversation, yeah, probably, I met you, I met you, I don't know, 2-3 years ago in a Zoom call, that you were very, very kind to us when we started the association in Mexico, and you shared with us your insights, and you gave a webinar. And now we met for the first time in person in Doha a few weeks ago. Yeah, I think it was a beautiful moment to be sharing from so many cultures that, we're so different, but at the end of the day, we're so similar. And I think that's one of the big hopes of lifestyle medicine, that yes, we have to tailor for every kind of community, race, beliefs, religious inclinements, and everything, but the core is just so similar. And I think that's beautiful. How do you feel a few weeks after we had that big meeting in Doha? And yeah, what are your dreams for the future of lifestyle medicine as a movement?
well, you had the most memorable quote in that conference of global lifestyle medicine leaders in Doha, which was, "I don't know what the question is, but the answer is lifestyle medicine." And I think we've touched on that actually here in this discussion that we've had, which is, there's this sense that we have that things are just not working. And that's not just a sense. There's a lot of data, a lot of, surveys, a lot of whatever, that healthcare is not really working. The chronic disease epidemic is getting worse. And there's this dream that we have that lifestyle medicine is a solution to that. And we're still defining lifestyle medicine at some level. But it's taking on this, it used to be lifestyle medicine was to eat less red meat, or to exercise for 30 minutes every day. That used to be what lifestyle medicine was. But it's as this movement has gone forward, there's this recognition that it needs to be so much more than that. And you're, Victor, you're actually one of the leaders in saying it's not just about those specific things. And I think as a whole, we're moving that forward in that. So where do we go next? I think we just keep having these kind of dialogues, this kind of dialogue that you and I are having, the kind of dialogue that we had in Doha, that was such a powerful foundation to keep moving forward. And the lifestyle medicine movement is hundreds, thousands, I don't know if it's millions yet, but it's at least thousands of people individually taking steps. And each step that that individual takes towards this more beautiful picture, this greater goal, each step that each individual takes is helping. It's taking us the right direction. But as we gather together, here the two of us, whoever's listening to the podcast, larger groups, as we gather together, that's where the change really happens. We started off our conversation in community and relationships. We've got a community and a set of relationships within this lifestyle medicine movement, and it's beautiful to see what we've done so far in a relatively short period of time, and we're just scratching the surface as far as the future vision. So we're in a good place. We've had some beautiful moments here together, and more of those beautiful moments will happen. So
Yes, thank you. I think I agree that we're scratching the surface of what's possible. And as you described at the beginning, when we spoke about your approach to life of imperfect balance, deep honesty, surrendered courage, and quiet joy, that you allow yourself to you said, I took note about this. You said, I let my roots grow deep. So yeah, we will follow that path, and because we're scratching the surface, but we're also cultivating deep seeds and deep roots that I think will keep transforming from health to health, everything. My friend, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. You are on your vacation, and this was I hope it feels part of the vacation too, and doesn't feel like work.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah,
So
for me too.
Great dialogue here.
For me too. Thank you. I also want to thank you because you sent a recommendation letter for me. Out of the blue, I didn't request it, and you sent it because you felt you could contribute. And as we talked with Stefan and with Amy in Doha, it's about lifestyle medicine. It's about paying it forward all the time, and I think that's what's happening here. And I really want to acknowledge and appreciate the thing that you've done for me and for the Mexican Association, and we will keep paying it forward for whatever steps in our way. And thank you for this beautiful conversation, my friend.
Thank you, Victor. Thank you.
Have a great day.
Yes, we'll stay in touch.
Yeah.